hearing?
So moved.
I have a motion from Mr. Kelleher. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second from Ms. Mixdorf. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes with the motion. This matter is continued to August 10th. The next case on the continuance list is docket item 3. The case number is 70. The address is 9900 Northeast Wren King Road. Is the applicant present on this case? If so, raise your hand to be promoted.
No one is raising their hand, and I also do not see this applicant listed among the attendees.
And Jared, do you have this case as well?
I do have this case as well. And if you'd like, I can list off all the docket numbers that need to be continued for the same reason after this, if you'd like.
Okay, yeah, let's do that. I'll have to take them each individually. So, but I understand that. Okay. So this one was continued because it wasn't advertised. All right. So do I have a motion from a board member on docket 3 to continue to August 10?
So moved.
I have a motion from Mr. Kelleher. Do I have a second?
Second, Ebbets.
I have a second from Mr. Ebbets. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes with the motion. This matter is continued to August 10th. Jared, give me the list. Are all of those at the very end of the docket going is 18, 19, 20, and 21, those cases? Okay.
Exactly.
I'm going to go to those next, board members, because I doubt that we have anybody here online interested in these cases. So let's go to docket 18, which is case number 53, has an address of 4201 East 109th Street. Is the applicant online? And if so, raise your hand to be promoted.
There's no one online for this, Madam Chair.
Okay. Board members, do I have a motion to continue this matter to August 10?
So moved.
I have a motion from Mr. Kelleher. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Ms. Mixdorf. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes with the motion. The matter is continued to August 10th. The next case is docket item 19, case number 74, with an address of 634 West 66th Terrace. Is anyone online in this case?
There's no one online, Madam Chair.
Okay. Board members, do I have a motion to continue this matter to August 10th?
So moved.
I have a motion from Mr. Kelleher. Do I have a second?
Second, Ebbets.
I have a second from Mr. Ebbets. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes with the motion. This matter is continued to August 10th. Moving on to docket item 20, case number 75, with an address of 1000 West 59th Terrace. Is there anyone online interested in this case? Please raise your hand to be promoted.
No one is online for this one, Madam Chair.
Do I have a motion then from a board member to continue this item until August 10th?
So moved.
I have a motion from Mr. Kelleher. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Ms. Mixdorf. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes with the motion. This matter is continued to August 10th. Then let's take up docket item 21, case number 78, with an address of 1036 Westover. Is there an applicant or someone interested in the case online? If so, please raise your hand to be promoted.
There's no one online, Madam Chair.
Then, my fellow board members, do I have a motion to continue this matter to August 10th?
So moved.
I have a motion from Mr. Kelleher. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Mr. Ebbets. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Chair votes with the motion, and that matter is continued to August 10th. I also see that we have a continuance request on item number 16, which is case number 50, with an address of 8716 East 67th Street. Is there anyone online interested in that case? If so, please raise your hand to be promoted.
There's no one online for this one either.
And I don't remember which which staff member has this case. What's the request?
This is Zach.
Okay, Zach, are you on?
Yes, I am. And the applicant requested a continuance of 1 month to allow for additional time to submit revised plans.
And no recommendation for a continuance fee, Zach?
Correct. No continuance fee.
Board members, do you have any questions, or do I have a motion to continue this matter to August 10?
So moved without fee.
I have a motion for Mr. Kelleher. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second for Ms. Mixdorf. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes with the motion. This matter is continued to August 10th. I also note, and I would just double check that, I believe item 17 is being continued. Is that correct? Because of a quorum issue? Who has that case? It's item 17, case number 27. The address is 13,000 Raytown Road.
Joe?
That's correct. Yes, it's on his case.
It's
That's
on its
correct.
case. Okay, but is that going to be continued?
Sarah, I believe since this is an appeal, do we need 5 of the members present?
Well, I mean, a quorum is 4, right? But
But they
Typically-
can't overturn it without, would it have to be 4-0 to overturn it?
correct. Yeah, it would have to be unanimous, right? So typically, I think what you've done is, what I think the board has done is ask the applicant how they'd like to proceed.
Is the applicant online today?
Phil Clavoon is, and I believe he represents the property owner.
Why
I'm
don't you,
promoting him
why
right
don't you just promote him real quick? Because if he wants to hear it, we'll put him back and hear it in order. But if he wants a 5-member panel, we'll just continue this one. Mr. Clavoon, I can see your square. Up there you are. Can you hear us?
Yes, Madam Chair. And yes, we would request to have full 5 board members, since
Okay.
otherwise we'd have to have a unanimous decision.
Okay.
Now, at the last meeting, you asked in order to obtain the continuance if Mr. Smith would be willing to keep, not operate and during that time. And if we, under the circumstances, we're willing to stay with that. He's not doing anything in connection with the occupation he was pursuing at the property, and he will continue that during this time period.
Okay, I appreciate that because that clarification would have been sought. So, and it's no fault of yours or anyone else that's online today. Unfortunately, people have just been called away today. Otherwise, we would have had 5 members. So we'll continue this, or we'll see, but we'll probably just continue at 1 month. I don't know if there's other people online that were here interested in this case today, and we apologize. We appreciate you coming, but without having a full panel of the board that heard the case, the applicant does have the right to have a full panel. So is there any questions from board members? If not, I'd entertain a motion in this case. It's docket item 17, case 27, just for your reference.
Madam Chair, I move that case number 27 be continued until August, what is it?
August 10th.
And
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second from someone else on the quorum?
Second.
I have a second from Mr. Gorit. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Chair votes with the motion. This matter is continued to August 10th. Okay. I think we have, I'm sorry, go ahead. Yes.
Madam Chair, there are 3 other cases that the docket says approval, but since the docket was published, the applicant is requesting continuance. Do you want to take those up in order, or do you want to take them up now?
it doesn't matter to me. I think sometimes it's easier just to get them taken care of and then we can have the hearing all at once. I also see 2 dismissals, but I can save those. So what else do you have that's a continuance, Mr. Rexwinkle?
Docket item 10, 11, and 14.
Okay. Let's take those in reverse order because it does not really matter as we're doing this. Let's call docket 14, case number 34. The address is 5000 East 17th Street. Any interested parties, please raise your hand to be promoted.
No one is raising their hand, Madam Chair.
And
then
who has this case?
in this case, the applicant needs to revise plans. The CPC recommended approvals subject to them revising plans before BZA. And they have not done that yet, so we're requesting continuance to August 10th without fee.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion from Mr. Kelleher. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Ms. Mixdorf. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Chair votes with the motion. This matter is continued to August 10th. Then let's move up to docket item 11, which is case number 18, but then address of 2802 East 9th Street. Would the applicant or interested parties please raise their hand to be promoted?
No one is raising their hand.
And what is the request for continuance on this matter?
This one is a continuance to August 10th for the same reason as the other case.
Okay.
That we just called.
Do I have a motion from a board member to continue this matter to August 10th?
So moved.
I have a motion from Mr. Kelleher. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Ms. Mixdorf. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes with the motion. This matter is continued to August 10. Finally, let's call docket item 10, case number 17. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I just call that case? That's the same. It's the same address.
Yeah,
Okay. All right. Docket item 10, case number 17, address of 2802 East 9th Street as well. And same reason, correct, Mr. Rexwinkle, for continuance?
That's correct.
Okay. Board members, do I have a motion to continue this matter to August 10?
So moved.
I have a motion from Mr. Kelleher. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Mr. Ebbets. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes with the motion. This matter is continued to August 10. All right. Well, we're slowly slimming down this docket list to not having much to hear today, folks. Okay. I think we have 2 more items I'd like to take care of before we actually hear cases with testimony. Let's move to docket item 4, which is case number 4 with an address of 2539 Cherry Street. Is the applicant present? If so, please raise your hand to be promoted.
No one is raising their hand.
Okay. This is a request for dismissal. Which board staff member has this case?
This is Shu.
Okay.
The applicant has applied for a short-term rental application for administrative approval. A result of that is they requested dismissal for the special use permit.
I'm sorry. So that's the reason for the dismissal, correct, Shu?
That's correct.
Okay. Board members have any questions with regard to this request? Then I would
Dismiss.
I have a motion for Mr. Kelleher. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Ms. Mixdorf. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Chair votes with the motion. Docket item 4 is dismissed. And finally, we have another, I think, request for dismissal on docket item 5, case number 5, with an address of 5937 Holmes Street. If the applicant is present, please raise your hand to be promoted. I think this is the same gentleman, correct, Shu?
It's the same applicant and request for dismissal for the same reason.
Okay. Do I have a motion to dismiss this matter?
So moved.
I have a motion from Mr. Kelleher. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Mr. Gorant. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes with the motion. This matter is dismissed. Okay, I think, have I covered everything like that now?
Believe you have, yes.
Okay. All right, let's take a case that we have someone here for probably. Let's go back to docket number 1, case number 51, with an address of 7933 North Lane Avenue. Would the applicant and any persons interested in this case, either to support it or oppose it, please raise your hand to be promoted to the panel.
Madam Chair, I've promoted Brandy Atwell, who is the applicant.
Okay.
There is also a gentleman named Dan Richardson that's raised their hand, and I'm promoting him now.
Okay.
Dan Richardson is the property owner.
Great. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
As soon as we get you both here. Okay. Ms. Atwell, Mr. Richardson, if you could turn on your camera so we can identify you and swear you in. I can see you, Ms. Atwell. Mr. Richardson. I can see you too. Okay. Would you both turn on your microphones as well? I think Ms. Atwell has hers on, but there you go. Okay. Would you both, let's have you start by identifying yourself. Ms. Atwell, we'll start with you. Could you state your full name, please?
Brandy Atwell with A3G Architects.
Thank you. Mr. Richardson, would you state your name, please? I'm sorry, Mr. Richardson, I could not hear you.
Sorry, double muted. Daniel Richardson, homeowner.
Okay. Could you both please raise your right hands to take the oath? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
I do.
Thank you. All right. Ms. Atwell, Mr. Richardson, have you reviewed the staff report that was provided online as it relates to the application in this matter today?
Yes, I have.
Okay. On the 3rd page of that report, there's a list of administrative exhibits that number 1 through 9. Those are items that are connected to the case. Do you have any objections to my admitting those for the board to be able to review those and the staff report today?
I do not.
Administrative exhibits 1 through 9 will be admitted. And I believe, I don't know, Tim wrote this report. Who's handling this one today? Anna, is this yours?
Yes.
Okay, Anna, would you please provide a summary of this case to us, please?
1 second. Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So docket item number 1 focuses on 7933 North Lane Avenue. It is zoned SC for the Shoal Creek District, and the applicant is seeking approval of a variance to the side yard setback to accommodate an addition to the single-family home. The property is located in the northern portion of Kansas City towards Liberty. This is a close-up of the property. It's highlighted in yellow and the surrounding area. A few notable landmarks and surrounding intersections include the Northeast 80th Street, which turns into Northeast 79th Street, and North Flintlock Road, which is to the east. It's kind of off the screen. And then also the Liberty Oaks Elementary School, which is northwest, which is off the screen as well. This is a close-up of the applicant submitted site plan. The proposed addition is around 455 square feet, and it is to the south of the existing single-family home. The portion highlighted in red is subject to the variance. So the required side yard setback for the SC overlay plan is 5 feet. They are proposing a side yard setback of 8.5 inches, which would require the variance of 4 feet 3 inches. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Anna. Ms. Atwell and Mr. Richardson, why do you believe the board should grant this request?
Dan, would you like to answer that for this go round?
Certainly. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
So I think there was discussions on the prior meeting about this extension not being in keeping with the neighborhood. I don't know if I could ask for that picture to be brought back up. This is a traditional neighborhood development. So this isn't a giant suburban development with estate-sized lots where everyone has their own playground, everyone has their own pool. We have community green space. We know all our neighbors. There's no front garages. They're all alleys in the back. Services are in the back. So all the homes are kind of pushed to the front where the porches are, have an 8-foot required porch size, and all the homes are pushed together. So I think there was a notion that this isn't really in keeping with this neighborhood. So I wanted to push back on that a little bit and say this is exactly what this neighborhood was designed to be. All the lots are about 40 feet. There's no confusion about these houses being close together. So we all share the same community features. The green space is in kind of the lower left-hand corner. There's a playground at Liberty Oaks Elementary School that Anna mentioned that all the kids play out. There are no rooms for backyards. There are no rooms for playgrounds. There are no rooms for pool. We share this all space. So I just wanted to kind of push back on the notion that kind of a close quarters living space would be not in keeping with this neighborhood. Is exactly what this neighborhood was designed to be. It's designed to look and feel like Brookside or Waldo with a better plumbing and a little bigger closets. I mean, that's the notion of this neighborhood. So I may speak a little bit about knowing things about my neighbors because we know all our neighbors. We're always kind of outside. We do community events together. We're forced to be outside and in community spaces because we have as you can see in the picture, we have no backyard, right? There isn't a playground in my backyard. So I went ahead and went out. I think the other notion was this isn't really done. So I actually went out and talked to my neighbors and measured some houses. And thankfully, one of the houses that is actually under 10 feet is in this picture. There's Northeast 79th Terrace in the street on the bottom of the screen. And you have what looked like Alley D running up the screen. Those two houses right there sit approximately 9 feet. That's the one just facing north. The front porch faces north. We're a little bit to the left. Right there, yep. Those two houses are 9 feet, 10 inches apart. The Meximics live in the corner. They've lived there for almost as long as we've lived there. And there are a number of houses that are right at or under 10 feet. There's another one right off the green space, 7900 North Hunter, where those houses, the Hunter House, 7900 Hunter House was there. The new construction right next to it got bigger and bigger and keep getting bumped out. And it now sits 12 feet from its neighbor's house. So they're hemmed in by a 2-foot, they could expand by 2 foot. And I don't know that there was no hemming and there was no outrage about the neighborhoods that a 10 foot between houses requirement was going to cause the end of this neighborhood. In fact, it is what this neighborhood is built upon. So the other notion that this neighborhood is developed on is the notion that you kind of stay in this neighborhood, right? We build roots, we have activities that everyone partakes in. There are apartments in the neighborhood. There are in the same development we can walk to. There are row homes in the neighborhood that we walk to. There are twin homes right around the corner from us. And then there are single family homes. And there's a retirement and or assisted living facility, all in walking distance, all under the same planned community. So the notion is you put down roots and you live in this community, from first starter apartment, first home to retirement facility. So I think there was a notion before, why don't you just build a bigger house or move out further in the suburbs? Frankly, there aren't any neighborhoods like this in Kansas City, Missouri. There's one like it in Lee Summit, which is inconvenient for us. Because we sought this neighborhood out, as did many in this neighborhood, because we want to stay here. So that's kind of the impetus behind the variety of houses and why we're in this neighborhood. I think the other thing to think about is I went ahead and had heard it was a 0 setback neighborhood or it's 5. There's always this 10 guideline. I'm not a real estate lawyer, but I pulled up what I believe are the development standards. And if I could walk through them real fast. I'm sure this is in someone's file somewhere. It talks about a side setback, 5 foot, asterisk, 0 lot line configurations allowed with 10 foot opposing side setback. Shall conform with most recently adopted building code. So there are a variety of different residential categories in this master plan document. I'm looking at page 34. There are a variety of other densities, types of residential neighborhoods or requirements or rules for neighborhoods. That's the only one that has this exception to the 5 foot rule. 0 lot line configurations with 10 foot opposing side setback. And I feel like that's on purpose. I don't want to be Pollyannish about the notion that we live close together and it was designed to be this community, but whether it's the chicken or the egg, but that's what exists in this community. So it's hard to go buy a new house. It feels like we're playing by the rules and asking, I guess, for a variance, although the requirement and the exceptions and the conditions to meet the exceptions seem to be applied here. We're asking, we're doing it the right way, hired an architect, did a survey, did all that. So now we're just here saying, well, the rule right here says 5 foot, but 0 foot allowed if you conform with the codes and you have a 10 foot opposing. That's all true. So I don't know what I'm actually asking for. I guess it's a waiver, but I mean, it's spelled out in this, category of my zoning, and it's not spelled out in the other one. So it feels intentional to me that this would be allowed, and it's in keeping, in my argument, with the style of neighborhood that we have. So I don't think I have anything else.
Okay, let me ask.
And if that was too much, I apologize. I'm just throwing everything out there.
Okay.
I don't attend these regularly.
Okay, that's okay. You're fine. And obviously this is your home and it's important to you. We appreciate that. But let me just ask for clarification from staff. I'm looking at the zoning requirements. And in this case, it appears that they're building up until about 8.5 inches. They're proposed from their property line, I believe. What does this 0 lot line configuration allowed with a 10 foot opposing side yard setback mean? Someone on staff explain that to us, because does he really need a variance if he's got 10 feet still? Could someone answer that question?
So I have the section of the Shoal Creek plan pulled up.
Okay, thank you.
And I don't know if it'd be helpful to share that or not. But it does state that a 0 lot line configuration is allowed with a 10 foot opposing side setback.
Okay. So in this case, based on what he's describing, are you telling us, Mr. Richardson, with this, or Ms. Atwell, with this proposed construction, that there is still 10 foot in the other, on the other side?
That is correct. There's 10 foot on the other side. I believe the confusion previously was that we do have a 10 foot condition, but it's not a 10 foot setback on the other side. So if the neighbor in the future would also have to go for a variance to be closer than 10 feet, I believe that was where the confusion lied with staff to whether we needed a variance or not, because the setback on the other side is not 10 feet.
Okay, so is this just out of caution that if the neighbor would want to add on at some point, they'd have to ask for a variance as well?
Correct.
Okay, all right. Is there anyone else online today that's from the neighborhood interested in this case that hasn't previously raised their hand to be promoted to this hearing? All right, board members, do you understand this request and have any further questions for staff or the applicant? Hearing no questions, I would entertain a motion on this case.
Chairman Otto, Mark Evans here. In case number 51, I recommend the board grant the approval in accordance with site plan and staff report.
I have a motion from Mr. Ebbets. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Mr. Gorant. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Chair votes with the motion. The request has been granted. Thank you, folks.
Chairman Otto, I've got to pop off one machine to get on another, so I'll be joining the meeting in just a minute from a different device.
Okay, we'll wait for you.
Yeah, it's coming right now. Thank you. Sorry. There, that one goes.
And Mr. Richardson, you can leave the meeting unless you have another case that you need to.
No.
Okay.
Thanks,
Thank you,
thanks
sir.
for your time.
Yep. Can staff confirm that docket items 6 and 7 should be called at the same time? Are they connected?
Yes, they are, Madam Chair.
Okay. I'm going to call then the next items, docket items 6 and 7, case numbers 8 and 9. The address is 5716 Scarrett Avenue. Would the applicant please raise their hand to be promoted, as well as any other parties interested in this case, either to support or oppose it?
Madam Chair, I'm going to promote the caller because no one's raising their hand, and I don't see anyone by the applicant's name in the list either, so I wonder if the caller is the applicant.
The phone number is my phone as a backup recording call then.
Okay.
So.
All right.
Thank you.
Brett.
Sorry for the confusion.
No problem. So I don't know if it's Mr. or Ms. Shively. Is anyone present on this case? 5716 Scarrett.
Should it be Miss Shively, and I will email her to make sure she can join the meeting if she's not on.
She's not online, Shu.
Okay, I'll email her.
Has this case been heard before?
Yes,
You've just
go ahead.
Yeah, I think you've just continued it. The board has not heard it yet.
But has she failed to show up at other hearings?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
No, she did not fail to show up at hearings. She probably thought this case has been already approved by the City Plan Commission. So maybe she thought that was the final decision.
Yeah.
We do have the applicant here for the next case.
Yeah,
if you do want to move forward, Madam Chair.
I'm going to hold items 6 and 7 then. So let's move to the next case, folks. We'll keep moving. Let's call docket item 8, case number 11, with an address of 925 Grand Avenue. Would the applicant and any interested parties please raise their hand to be promoted for us to hear testimony?
Madam Chair, I've promoted David Maddock and I'm promoting Doug Stone right now.
Okay. Mr. Maddock, would you state your name for the record?
Yes, my name is David Maddock, and I'm here on behalf of Delta Quad Holdings.
And I
also have with me Doug Stone, who's a partner at my firm.
Okay, you're together. Okay, all right. Nice background, Mr. Stone.
Oh my God, I apologize, Madam Chair. Hold on. Goodness, that was from my last. I wasn't on video while I was waiting. Hold on, sorry.
It's okay. I didn't think you would really want that up while we're taking the public hearing.
That's better.
That's better. Okay.
Thank you very much. I apologize.
Would you state your name for the record, Mr. Stone?
Madam Chair, members of the board, I'm Douglas Stone with the Lewis Rice Law Firm. I'm representing the applicant. Mr. Maddock is on with us. Mr. Maddock is a young lawyer in my office, and so I've asked him to join us and get his feet wet a little bit, although he would rather I do the proceeding. So Wimpy David is going to watch, and I'm going to do it.
Okay, all right. Gentlemen, can you both please raise your right hands to be sworn? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right. All right. Mr. Stone, have you all reviewed the staff report connected with your client's application?
Yes, we have.
Okay. And do you have any objections to the admission of the administrative exhibits found on page 3 of the report, that number 1 through 11.
We do not.
Exhibits 1 through 11 will be admitted. And among those is a PowerPoint presentation. So Zach, when you're ready.
Sure, just a moment. Okay, so this next case is a special use permit request for an Embassy Suites hotel. So this is located downtown within the downtown loop. More specifically, this is the former Federal Reserve building located at the northeast corner of Grand and 10th Street. Grand Boulevard itself is a boulevard according to the Boulevard and Parkway standards. And so that was really the reason why this is before you all today. And I'll get into that in a little bit more specific detail in just a moment. But in terms of the surrounding land uses, the courthouse lofts are to the north. There's commercial and residential uses to the west. There's a surface parking lot to the south. And then the Pickwick building is to the east. And then there's a parking garage just to the east of the Federal Reserve building. And so we're really just looking at this area bordered in yellow, although the applicant does own sort of the surface parking lot. And then there's also another more narrow surface parking lot that's also owned by the applicant, but just the area in yellow is what we're looking at today. So in terms of kind of an overview, the applicant is requesting a special use permit to allow for hotel use within 150 feet of a boulevard. The building itself was constructed in 1914 and was listed on the National Register in 2007. The applicant is intending, as I mentioned, to convert the building into an Embassy Suites hotel. The building is 350,000 square feet approximately and is 16 stories. And the applicant is intending to have a total of 284 guest rooms. So in terms of kind of looking at it from the ground view, this kind of gives a perspective of the scale of the building and also the architecture itself. There is a little bit of work already being done. I'm not sure specifically what's being done currently. As you can see, there's also a lot of bollards, which also serve as planters in front of the site as well. So in terms of the site plan, the hotel will go obviously in the Federal Reserve building itself, kind of at the southwest corner here, and north is to the right, I'd like to mention. And then the parking garage will be used for guests for parking. There will be a hotel valet drop off of a curb cut on the 10th Street side. And then there will be a hotel valet exit onto 9th Street. And that's a one-way going westbound. And then I will mention that this kind of north-south line here is a vacated alley, which will be used by the hotel as well. And then kind of in the center here, where this note kind of indicates, that'll be a new entrance to the hotel that'll allow guests to enter from the parking garage as well. And then just some other things to note, as I mentioned, those planters, they also serve as protective bollards. They kind of run along the site, and there's quite a few of them along Grand Boulevard. And according to the applicant, they, I believe they are somehow built into the underground vault. And so they're very difficult to remove. So those are intended to remain and provide some landscaping for the site. And then this just shows kind of some of the improvements in terms of the streetscape itself. The applicant intends to make a lot of repairs to the existing sidewalk and some of the curb cuts, and then also improve ADA accessibility as well. And then since this is on the National Register, the building itself, for all intents and purposes, won't really change in terms of architecture or scale. It'll largely resemble what it currently looks like. It'll just be, you know, better maintained essentially. So this is a rendering that the applicant has provided. And this really just shows kind of some of the proposed signage. Obviously the signage at the top here and then sort of towards the ground level as well. So this application is likely to kind of activate this corner and better maintain the building than it currently is. So staff believes this is an appropriate use for the site. It matches the character. And And the building itself has been vacant for many years. And so staff believes that according to this approval criteria, that this is an appropriate use. And staff is supportive of the special use permit. And then this went to CPC last week, and they recommended approval with conditions. And that concludes my presentation.
All right, thank you. Mr. Stone, there are 10 conditions that were recommended by the CPC. Does your client agree to those 10 conditions or have any exceptions they would note to this board?
Well, just a minor point, which is item number 1.
Yes.
Really, what item number 2 used to be up with item number 1, and at the CPC, I'd asked for number two to move down. I really should have asked for number 1 to move down as well. That was my mistake.
Okay.
The issue is, this has gotten to be a bit of a dog and a tail. When this project first started, the Boulevard and Parkway standards didn't exist, and there was some changes of control over the entity, and the project stalled out. And when we went in to get our construction permits, we were told we needed an SUP. Of course, we're happy to be here to ask for that. But really, we're in the stage now of construction drawings going back and forth. And so that number 1 really will be handled on the construction drawings, just like number 2 would be. And so I would just ask that it, instead of being a correction, that number 1, be a part of the conditions. And really all of that will show up on the building permit plan.
I think that's form over substance. Does anyone with staff object to that? Yeah.
It's only because it says revise and resubmit. I didn't want there to be any confusion.
Yeah, I don't think staff has any objections to it being a condition versus a correction. I think the intent is just to overall improve the security of that area.
Okay.
Sure. And of course, once there's valet parking in there, I mean, we're going to light it anyway, but yes, of course. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, no, I understand. I just wanted to make sure staff didn't have some specific reason to prevent that. Okay. Yeah. So I was going to say, I thought that this had been sort of before the board some time ago. I thought this building had already been slated to turn into a hotel. So this is different.
It has, but back then we didn't need an SUP. And we've been trudging along. We've got our incentives in place.
I see.
And then this came up with the construction permit.
I see. Okay. All right. Does the board have any questions for Mr. Stone? Okay. Then I would entertain a motion on this case.
Madam Chair, in case number 11, I move the application be granted in accordance with staff report and site plan.
And do you wish to make any reference about changing or referencing the 10 conditions?
Oh, yes, subject to all conditions.
And item number 1 is going to move to a condition rather than a correction?
Correct. Okay.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'm sorry, excuse me for interrupting. I think you said case 11, but it's case 8.
No, that's docket 8. It's case 11. He's correct.
Excuse me. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Our system is a little confusing, we admit, but we do understand it. Okay. All right. So I have a motion from Mr. Kelleher with
second, Tom.
And I have a second from Mr. Gorman. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Chair votes with the motion. The request is granted. Thank you, Mr. Stone. Mr.
Thank
Maddox.
you all very much.
The next time, we're not that scary. We're all good.
I live in a pineapple under the sea, so thank you, everybody. Hi, Mark.
Bye.
Thank you, Zach.
Okay. All right. Did we hear from the applicant on 6 and 7, Shu?
Yes, the applicant is online now,
Okay,
and I'm promoting her.
Okay, let's go back to those then. Let's go back to docket items 6 and 7, cases 8 and 9, with an address of 5716 Scared Avenue.
I've just promoted her. She should be joining us shortly.
I haven't seen her pop on yet.
Okay.
She probably needs to, there she goes. I see she just popped over. Ms. Shelby,
Morning and good afternoon.
yes, Ms. Shelby, could you turn on your camera so we can swear you in?
Yes.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Hi.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Could you state your name, please?
Sarah Chu Shively.
Okay, Ms. Shelby, could you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay. We're here today to hear your application. Have you had a chance to review the staff report that was created as it relates to your cases today?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. On page 3 of that, no, I'm sorry, on page 4 of that report, there's a list of items under a heading called exhibits. They number 1 through 9. Those are administrative items connected to your applications today in these two cases. Do you have any objection to my admitting those 9 administrative exhibits so the board can hear your cases today?
No, ma'am.
Okay, exhibits 1 through 9 will be admitted. And Shu, I believe you have a presentation. Let's hear from you.
That's correct. All right. These two cases in front of your companion cases related to 2 special use permits for the same address located at 5716 Scarrett Avenue. Here's the general location of the subject site. More specifically, it's located on the northwest corner of North Topping Avenue and Scarrett Avenue. The subject site is currently zoned to R2.5, and the existing zoning around are all R2.5. More details including a elementary school right across the street from North Topping Avenue to the east, and residential family houses to the north and to the south. The current site is a 2-story building, and this is the view looking west from Scarrett Avenue. The subject site is located on the right hand. And I apologize if this image has been outdated. The applicant had made upgrades to the facade of the building, so it's not looking like this anymore. This is the view looking east from Scarrett Avenue. And this is the view looking south from North Topping. And the subject site is located on your left hand with a view at the backyard. The applicant proposes no expansion of the existing structure except the internal remodeling that will accommodate the use of a multi-unit house and a retail commercial use located on the first floor. So this is a ground floor plan. It includes laundry service for the retail service use that's located on the first floor, and 1 unit that includes 2 bedrooms. And this is the second floor plan that includes 2 units. So in R2.5, the code allows the retail service through a special use permit, and the code also requires special use permit approval for a multi-unit house. Therefore, you're seeing these 2 special use permits today. And this is an old image indicating that this building has been historically used as a retail service. So the City Plan Commission recommended approval to both cases subject to conditions stated in the staff report. That concludes my presentation.
All right, thank you, Shu. Ms. Shively,
Yes, ma'am.
are you familiar with the conditions that the City Plan Commission placed for approval of your request?
Yes, ma'am. That is a 3-year of approval, and I will have to reapply after the 3 years to be able to recertify.
Okay, and there were 3 conditions, that's correct. One was a 3-year term. One was that the multi-house should comply with all building code requirements. And the third would be that you would be responsible for dedication of parkland and open space in lieu of should you want to go forward. Did you understand that condition?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you have no objection to those conditions, correct?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And board members, do you understand this request or have questions for Ms. Shively?
Madam Chair, this is Sarah. I just wanted to note the second special use permit, since you went through the 3 conditions on the first, the second one has 4 conditions too.
Oh, it does. Okay, I apologize. I didn't get that. Oh, I missed those. Thank you, Sarah. Okay, I'm sorry. And there are 4 conditions on the second one. That's correct. And that is on that conditional use permit, the conditions are, Ms. Shively, that the number of employees should be no more than 3, that your hours of operations are limited from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m., Monday through Sunday, that all proposed signage comply with the code and subject to permits, and that, again, the special use permit would expire in 3 years. Again, you have no objections to those 4 conditions, correct?
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So board members, understanding the request in both of these cases and the conditions, do you have any questions for Ms. Shockley?
Madam Chairman, I have a couple questions.
Yes, go ahead, Tom.
This used to be a warehouse at one time. I remember living over in Northeast, growing up over there, and having some property. Are you saying you're putting it in 2 units?
Ms. Shively, did you hear his question?
No, he said it out. He asked if I'm putting in 2 units, and that's where I stopped hearing him.
Okay, he wanted to know, he said, are you putting in 2 units? That was his question.
So the plan right now, it has 2 bedrooms of residential unit upstairs. Downstairs has 1 residential unit, and the other one will be the commercial on the tapping side.
Okay, is there going to be a parking problem?
As right now, no, because the type of neighborhood store that we are doing is not like one of those that require a lot of foot traffic. We just using it for cleaning supplies type of neighborhood store. So you have a specific clientele that comes and go, not open to all public. It's a wholesale, like a retail type of cleaning supply for commercial building. The business that I have is a cleaning business, and it will be like a cleaning chemical supply.
Have you talked to the neighbors about this venture?
Yes, I have a letter from the neighborhood association, and I also talked to John across the street from the Rhodey Math Center and told him what my purpose. I have no objection.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, hearing no further questions, I'd entertain a motion.
Chairman Otto, do you want 2 separate motions, or
I think
case number 8 and 9? I think 2, don't you think?
Yeah, I think 2 would be better.
Okay, so in Chairman Otto, in case 8, I recommend the applicant be granted the request in accordance with site plan, staff report, and of course the conditions as outlined, the 3 conditions as outlined.
I have a motion for Mr. Ebbets. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. I have a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Chair votes with the motion. The request has been granted. And now, Mr. Ebbets, if you do the next case.
Sure. So Chairman Otto, in case number 9, I recommend the applicant be granted the request in accordance with site plan, staff report, and the 4 conditions as outlined in this report.
I have a motion. Do I have a second on this case?
I second. Tom Grantz.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And any opposition? Chair votes with the motion. Chair votes with the motion. The request has been granted. Thank you, Ms. Shively.
Thank you very much. You guys have a good evening.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay. Is everyone still doing okay? Anyone need a brief break? Okay, we'll keep going then. Let's call the next case, which I have is docket item 9, case number 15. The address is 4900 East US 40 Highway, Would the applicant please raise their hand to be promoted, as well as any other person wishing to be either in support or opposition of this request for special use permit?
Madam Chair, I'm promoting 3 people. Dan Felder, Kurt Mitcher, and Vince Stevens.
Trying to get to this case on my item list. Okay, I see Mr. Mitcher. Sure,
It's Mitcher. It's
Mitcher.
easier than it looks.
Sorry, I apologize. I
No problem.
Okay, I apologize. And I see Mr. Felder.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. And you said there was one more, Mr. Stevens. Can you turn on your camera? Okay, I don't think he's hearing me. Mr. Stevens, can you turn on your microphone and camera? Oh, there he is. He moved. You move when you turn your camera on. It's like I have you in one spot and then I have to watch you pop up somewhere else on my screen. All right.
I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. It's not your fault. It's just called Zoom technology, and I
got you.
might be ready or be used to it after like a year and a half of this, but it still takes me a minute to find you. Okay, gentlemen, I'm going to have each of you.
A funny, a weird background. So.
Yeah. You don't have a funny, weird background. Yeah.
No SpongeBob.
No SpongeBob. Right. I try to prevent people from having something recorded into perpetuity with something on their background. So
absolutely.
Anyway, okay, gentlemen, I'm going to have each of you state your names and we'll identify who you are. Mr. Felder, I'm going to start with you because I believe I have you listed as the applicant. Is that correct?
That is correct. Thank you. Daniel Felder, Axiom Construction.
Okay, and I'm just going to have you take the oath one at a time since there are so many of you. Would you please raise your right hand, Mr. Felder? Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Mr. Stevens, would you state your name, please?
Vince Stevens, Axiom Construction.
Okay, and would you raise your hand to be sworn? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. And then Mr. Mitchler, would you please state your name?
Kurt Mitcher, Talaferro Brown Engineers.
Okay, and would you raise your hand, sir, to be sworn in? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Did I get everyone? Okay. All right, gentlemen, have you had a chance to review the staff report that has been created as a result of your request for special use permit?
Yes, we have.
Okay, on page 3 of that report, beneath Mr. Nelson's signature, there's a list of administrative exhibits that number 1 through 12. Do you have any objection to those being admitted for the board to consider as we take your case under advisement today?
No objections.
Okay, exhibits 1 through 12 will be admitted. Zach, this is your case. Would you please present your PowerPoint and then we'll have questions for the applicant.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So this next case is another special use permit request. This is for Axiom, which is a concrete batch plant. So this is located generally in the east part of the city, generally just north of the stadiums. A little more specifically, this is on the north side of 40 Highway. And the character of the area in general is very industrial and commercial in nature. And the site specifically has a split zoning of B3-2 kind of on the southern portion, and then M1-5 on the northern portion of the site. And the applicant is requesting a special use permit to allow for a concrete batch plant, which in the zoning code is considered general manufacturing and is first allowed in the M zoning district with a special use permit. And in terms of some of the surrounding land uses, there's an auto dealership to the west. There's kind of a roofing company, to the best of my knowledge, just to the east. And to the north, I believe there's a rock quarry company, some use similar to that. And then the the I-435 off ramp is just to the south. So that is not likely to ever be developed. And then the nearest residential is across 435 to the east. So this is looking north at the entrance to the site. As you can see, there is quite a bit of vegetative screening already. And then the drive itself is unimproved and is gravel. And so the site plan that the applicant has provided shows the concrete batch plant and basically all of the operating uses to be located in that M zoned portion of the site. The batch plant itself will be generally in this area. There's an office that's shown just to the southwest here, and then material storage along the side here. There's some parking, and then there's a drive aisle that wraps all the way around the site here. There's also a detention pond located generally in the northwest portion of the site as well. So overall, this use will be required to operate only within the M zoned portion of the property and will be set back quite a ways from the street. And then in terms of landscaping, the landscape plan does show street trees along the entirety of the frontage of the site. And then one of the conditions of approval is also that the drive aisle be paved. And so that will hopefully keep a lot of rocks that are potentially getting spilled onto 40 highway. That'll hopefully prevent that from happening in the future. And then very briefly, this just shows the actual concrete, the equipment itself. It'll be about 60 feet in height. And so in terms of operating characteristics, the company will produce concrete materials that will then be transported offsite to consumers. It'll have approximately 4 to 6 employees. It'll operate Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. and occasionally on Saturdays. And there will be 6 to 8 trucks that are on site on any given day. And then in terms of the special use permit approval criteria, I won't go through all of this, but staff believes that this complies with all the zoning criteria. It seems to be a good appropriate use for this area. It'll be heavily screened. And then the operating hours will also largely match some of the nearby uses as well. And then, as I mentioned, the frontage along 40 highway will be improved, and the drive aisle will be paved as well. And so staff is supportive of this special use permit request. It recommends approval. And then CPC, this was heard by CPC and they recommended approval subject to the conditions as well. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Zach. Gentlemen, do you have any objection to the 18 conditions that were placed on approval by the CPC?
We don't have any objections.
Okay. And is there anything further you'd like this board to understand about what you're attempting to operate at this location?
Well, maybe a little bit more. You know, Axiom as it exists today is a concrete subcontractor. We have the privilege of not only doing concrete work as a viable contractor here in the city, but as it has been evidenced at the airport where we're doing most of our work now, we've had the opportunity to employ a lot of people here in the city. As there is a mandate, if you will, there for a percentage of city folks. We've exceeded that in a great way, and we want to continue doing that great work here at the plant, engaging the city, making a difference. So thank you for allowing us to say that.
Is this will this be your first plant location, Mr. Stevens?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you've just been purchasing concrete from other suppliers up to this point in your operation of your construction company?
That's correct, Madam Chair.
Okay, all right. All right, board members, do you have any questions for the applicant? Then I would entertain a motion in this case.
Well, Chairman Otto, it looks like no one wants to offer a motion, but I will.
Sorry, thank you.
So in case number 15, I recommend the applicant be granted the request in accordance with site plan, staff report, along with the numerous conditions that were part of the staff report.
I have a motion from Mr. Ebbets. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Mr. Kelleher. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes with the motion. The request is for granted. Good luck, gentlemen. I hope it works out well for you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, let's see. What do we have left? I have a lot of things marked off. All right, so let's go. I think the next item is 12. Case number 22 with an address of 12940 Warnell Road. Would the applicant please raise their hand to be promoted, as well as anyone else interested in the case?
Madam Chair, I promoted Bob
Sorry, Jeff.
Johnson and Paul Melnick.
Bob Johnson and Paul Melnick. Okay, I'll look for them. I see Mr. Johnson. Let me see. I'm still waiting. Oh, Mr. Melnick, I see him, but he hasn't turned on his microphone or camera yet. Up there he is. What about Amy Grant? I had her as the applicant or the owner.
She's a paralegal in my office.
Oh, she is. Okay, Mr. Johnson. Okay, so she doesn't need to be promoted. Okay, all right. All right, let's have you each state your name for the record. Mr. Johnson, do you want to go first?
Absolutely. Bob Johnson, Bolsonelli, PC.
And Mr. Melnick, would you state your name, please?
I'm Paul Melnick, CEO of Sauna Lake Recovery.
Okay. And gentlemen, would you please raise your right hands to be sworn in? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Mr. Johnson, have you reviewed the staff report that is connected to your client's application?
I have.
And do you have any objections to my admission of the administrative exhibits that number 1 through 9 found on page 4 of that staff report?
No objection.
Okay. Exhibits 1 through 9 will be admitted. And I believe there's a PowerPoint presentation. So we'll hear from Ms. Wood first, and then Mr. Johnson will hear from you, okay?
This case in front of you is one of 3 companion cases for a project located in South Kansas City. This one in front of you is a special use permit request. There were also 2 other companion cases. One is the rezoning to rezone it from R7.5 to O, which is office, and the other one is area plan amendment, which has already been approved by City Council through the ordinance number listed here. So therefore, you can hear the special use permit request.
And I'm sorry, so that's just docket item 12. We don't have another item. I should have.
No, you don't.
Okay, that's why. Okay, I wanted to make sure.
Just the other 2 went to City Council for final approval.
I follow.
Just wanted you to know that they are already approved. This project is located in South Kansas City, as I mentioned earlier. More specifically, it's located on the northwest corner of Warner Road and west of Blue Ridge Boulevard. It's currently zoned R7.5, and the site contains about 14-acre tract, including 3 parcels. There is an existing structure located on the site, including the west and east wing. It was used for nursing homes before. And here's the view looking north from the intersection. The subject site is located on your left hand. There is a religious assembly located on the other side of Warner Road. This is the view looking east from west of Blue Ridge Boulevard. The subject site is located on your left hand again, and it's heavily wooded from west of Blue Ridge Boulevard. The applicant proposes to demolish the west wing of the existing structure and replace it with an outdoor sport courts and reuse the site for a hospital use that includes a 24/7 guarded site for rehabilitation for clients that need it. This is the detailed site plan that shows the outdoor sport courts that proposed by the applicant. They also proposed a trail located in the heavily wooded area, which is south of the outdoor space. This is a stream buffer plan submitted by the applicant and approved by staff. City Plan Commission has recommended approval subject to conditions to this special use permit as stated in the staff report. As I mentioned earlier, the companion cases for the rezoning and the area plan amendment has already been approved by ordinance number 210552 and resolution number 210551. Therefore, the special use permit is in front of you today. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Shu. Mr. Johnson, why should the board grant this special use permit?
Yes, thanks for having us here today, Chair and members of the board. Really, there are three reasons, and I can delve into each if you'd like. But the first would be that there's a significant need for this facility in this community at this particular location, leading to the second point, which is that this site is well positioned and well laid out for this particular use. And then thirdly, Sauna Lake is a high quality owner operator of facilities of this nature, a long track record of success of treating the whole person through a continuum of care program, beginning at this facility and then continuing on to outpatient care that has a high percentage of success for people voluntarily seeking treatment who want to better their lives for themselves and their families.
Okay. Board members, and of course, Mr. Johnson, you're not objecting to the conditions placed by the CPC, correct?
We are not.
Okay. Do board members understand this request? Have further questions?
Madam Chair, in case number 22, I move that the application be granted in accordance with the report and site plan and subject to all conditions stated therein.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Madam Chair,
sorry.
I believe we have not asked for public input yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we just had an applicant with us. Do we have someone who's not an applicant?
We don't.
Okay. I thought I asked.
I'm sorry, we don't.
No, that's okay. What, Sue? That's okay. I thought I had asked for everyone to be promoted. So, okay. All right. I'm sorry. I have a motion. Do I have a second to Mr. Kelleher's motion?
Second, Ebbets.
I have a second from Mr. Ebbets. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Chair votes with the motion. The request has been granted. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay. I believe the next case we still have to hear is docket item 13, case number 32. The address is 12,000 James A. Reed. Would the applicant please raise their hand, as well as anyone else interested in this case, to be promoted?
Madam Chair, the applicant is Phil Clavoon, and he is already a panelist and promoted.
Okay.
There's no one else raising their hand.
Okay. Can who's sharing their screen? Is that Olafu?
That's me.
Okay, can you stop for just a minute? Sorry, just so I can see everybody. It's really hard for me to see people when you do that. So, okay, there's Mr. Clavoon. Mr. Clavoon, could you state your name for the record, please?
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the board, Phil Clavoon, 10150 North Ambassador Drive, Kansas City, Missouri, representing the Better Place Funeral LLC, an application for a special use permit.
Okay, would you raise your hand to be sworn in this case, Mr. Clavoon? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. And there's no one else online today interested in this case, correct? If so, please raise your hand to be promoted. Okay, doesn't look like anybody's raising their hand.
No one else.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. I pulled it up too, Joe, that way I can see if people kind of pop on too. All right, Mr. Clavoon, have you reviewed the staff report that's connected with this special use permit?
Yes, I have.
Okay, on page 4, there's a list of administrative exhibits that number 1 through 9. Any objection to those being admitted for the board to consider this afternoon?
No objection.
Okay, exhibits 1 through 9 will be admitted. Also, now you may share your screen and do your PowerPoint. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And can you see my screen?
Yes.
Thank you. Olafo Agbaji, City Planning and Development staff. This next case is a request for a special use permit located at 10200 James A. Reed Road. Again, this is in the southern part of the city, just where we just had the last case around, not too far from here. It's located on the north side of I-470 and just west of James A. Reed Road. This is a closer look at the existing site. It's about 30 acres and it houses the South Kansas City Baptist Church. Currently zoned R7.5 and R80. The request today is for approval of a special use permit to allow for funeral services within one of the buildings on the site. And this will be operated by Pastor Gary Jones of the Better Place Funeral LLC. And this is being proposed to be used for office and services only. So the applicant said there will be no funeral. Actually, funeral services and internment services are permitted within the residential zoning district subject to a special use permit, which is why this is before you. There will be no embalming, undertaking, or cremation proposed as part of this operation. And staff has asked the applicant to submit a revised plan prior to certificate of occupancy, which the applicant has, but we still have some tweaking to do to those plans. Again, this is the site. This is the existing sanctuary for the church. And this is the second building on the site that will be used for the funeral services for the Better Place Funeral LLC. He did submit this floor plans, which I'm going to tweak with him to make them better legible and move forward following this approval. But this went to City Plan Commission on June 15, and the recommendation was for approval, subject to just the corrections to the plans that I've requested. That ends my report, and I'll take any questions.
Were there any conditions? Oh, yes, there were 5 conditions, right? Okay.
There were just corrections to the plans, and that was the plan you saw me project. And these plans were the plans that were requested. But the shape and form it's in, I don't want to move forward with, but I will be able to work with Mr. Clavoon to acquire the actual copy. So this is a picture of the plans taken on a desk, but I want the actual copy.
Okay, but I mean, the CPC had 5 conditions, correct? That's what I thought I saw in the report.
See, plan conditions, yeah.
Okay, all right, okay.
5 conditions, yeah.
Mr. Clavoon, why don't you explain what your client is planning here, just so the board has a clearer idea, since there's a little bit of confusion on the plan.
Yes, Madam Chair, a Better Place Funerals LLC is operated by Pastor Gary Cornelius Jones, who would be here today, except he's on a missionary trip out of the country in Togo, Africa. But he asked me to represent him here. We are in agreement with the conditions as to the drawing. Pastor Jones is a pastor. He did the additions to an architectural drawing. We'll make whatever changes, and I think Olafu covered the situation well, that are needed to that drawing. This site is an ideal site for the funeral service where they will meet with their clients, to arrange funerals, meet with the bereaved family, do the administrative work from the administrative offices in the ancillary building to South Kansas City Baptist Church. There is a community room on the lower floor where they will, from time to time, hold funeral services. That room will hold about 80 persons. The administrative office will be in operation 8 to 5. There's ample parking in connection with the actual ancillary building. There's about 50 parking spaces that you can see on the map next to it. There's another 200 spaces in the upper lot next to the sanctuary and church of Kansas City, South Kansas City Baptist Church. As we mentioned, there will not be any embalming, undertaking, or cremation on site. That will all be done elsewhere. And this is basically for the administrative office for funeral service. And in the fellowship hall, occasionally folks will want to have services there. We are in agreement with the conditions. We think most of them have been met. Work with Olive Fu on adjusting the drawing. The funeral service was previously located at 9815 Neiman Road in Shawnee, Kansas. So they're moving back over to the Missouri side. That building was sold, and they are now in need of a place for their funeral service. There was a community meeting that we sent out notice, including to the Avalon Neighborhood Association, which is the area there, on June 7, 2021. Also to all the person legal notice area. And there was not anyone there at that meeting. So, and we have not had any objection to from anyone. It is a very large tract. And because there's already a church on the location, we think it's ideally situated to house a better place funeral service. So if there's any questions or anything that I can answer that any board members may have, I'd certainly be happy to.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Clavoon. Board members, do you have any questions? Okay. Hearing no questions, and there were no other parties interested from the public that raised their hand, I would entertain a motion on this case.
Chairman Otto, in case number 32, excuse me, in case number 32, I recommend the board approve the request in accordance with site plan, staff report, and the, I believe, 4 conditions on the back page. Could be 5, sorry, thank you.
Do I have a second to that motion?
Second.
I have a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposition? Chair votes with the motion. The request has been granted. Thank you, Mr. Clavoon.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Rest of the week, folks. Take care.
Okay, I think we have one final case. I think let's move to docket number 15, case number 38. The address is 1514 Campbell. Would the applicant and all interested parties please raise your hand to be promoted so we can hear the case? Do we have any applicants raising their hands? Can someone?
I'm promoting them.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, I see.
Oh, Louis. Yep.
Yeah, Mr. Lewis, can you turn on your camera and your microphone?
Sorry about that. Good afternoon, everyone.
That's okay. All right. Mr. Lewis, can you state your name, please?
I am Paul Lewis with Lathrop GPM 2345 Grand Boulevard.
And you represent the applicant, correct?
I do. Yes, I do.
Would you raise your hand to be sworn? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay. And I also see a gentleman by the name of Kyle Mead. Mr. Mead, can you state your name, please?
Yes, Kyle Mead with the Heartland Center for Behavioral Change.
Okay, and would you raise your right hand then to be sworn? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay. Is there anyone else that I've missed interested in this case? All right. Gentlemen, have you reviewed the staff report that is connected with the application you're here before the board for today?
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
Do you have any objection to my admitting the administrative exhibits found at the bottom of page 3 of that report, that number 1 through 9?
I do not.
Okay.
No objection.
Exhibit 1 through 9 will be admitted. Among those is the PowerPoint presentation, and we'll have Olufu give that, and then gentlemen, we'll hear from you. Okay? All right, Olufu, when you're ready. Olufu, you're on mute. We still can't hear you.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Had everything teed up but the mute.
That's okay, no problem. Go ahead.
This next case is a request for a special use permit by the Heartland Center for Behavioral Change, and this is located at 1514 Campbell. And as you can see, the site is just to the south east of the downtown loop. There's a closer look at the site. It's located on Campbell, which is parallel to the on-ramp to the southbound, on-ramp southbound for 71 freeway. Again, the property is currently zoned M1-5, and they're seeking a special use permit to allow for the continual use of this of the halfway home at this location for another 2 years, pursuant to 88-53201C. And this is a biannual approval that always comes to you. The last approval was granted on May 14th, 2019, and this use was first established at this location on March 13, 1984. Again, this went to City Plan Commission June 15, and the recommendation was for approval subject to the one condition, which, as required by the code, can only be granted for 2 years. So they should be before you back in another 2 years for another approval. That ends my report, and I'll take any questions.
Okay, thank you, Olufu. Mr. Lewis, very well familiar with this case, having been on the board for a long time. It looks like there have been no complaints since we last heard you about the operation of this location. Is that true?
That is correct, as far as I'm aware.
And you're not making any changes to the operation. It's just simply operating as previously has been operating for years, correct?
Well, there is probably one change I should mention. In the last version of the special use permit approval, one of the changes was a deal with Jackson County pursuant to their jail, in which Heartland Center housed some detainees for a period. The change being that is no longer in effect, and that deal has gone away. Otherwise, this is the same facility that's been operating since 1984, and it's simply our 2-year checkup.
Okay, all right. Board members, did you have any questions about this request of either Mr. Lewis or Mr. Mead? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion then.
Madam Chair, in case number 38, I move that the application be granted in accordance with staff report and site plan and subject to all one of the conditions.
I have a motion from Mr. Kelleher. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Ms. Mixdorf. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposition? Chair votes with the motion. The request is granted. Gentlemen, I may see you in 2 years. We'll see.
Thank you all for your time. You have a nice afternoon.
You too, gentlemen. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that completes the business we had before us today. I thank you all for your time and patience, and hearing no other questions, we are adjourned.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Tim Brookhauser, if you'd like, give me just a moment, I would appreciate it.
Sure, absolutely.
I'd like to inform the board that this will be the last BZA hearing that I'm going to be attending representing the city of Kansas City, Missouri, or the citizens. I've decided after 40 years that it's time to move on and pursue some other endeavors. I want to tell you how much I've appreciated working with you. It's been just wonderful, and the citizens of Kansas City, Missouri should be very appreciative of you as well. With that, I'll wish you the very best.
Well, we wish you the very best as well. We'll miss you.
Same to you, Tim. We miss you. Good luck and good proceedings in the future, wherever that takes you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Y'all have a nice day.
You too. Bye now.
Bye, everybody.